What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, the official Cliffy J, and I'm back with another video. And today, I'm gonna be giving you guys another challenge video. And with the Battle of the Era season coming to an end very soon, I thought it'd be the perfect time to start a series of era-themed videos, starting with ranking every season of Era 4. Without a further ado, let's get into it. Era 4 is really the era of spin-offs, and I wanted to put them all on this list, but I decided that would take too long, and later on I could just do a spin-offs ranking including all the spin-offs in challenge history. For this list, I broke it down into 4 categories, gave every season a score for each category, with the 4 categories being entertainment, where I'm mostly looking at characters and moments, format, where I'm looking at the format the entire season and the final, challenges, where I'm looking at the daily challenges and the eliminations, and the vibes, where I'm just looking at my personal connection to the season and the overall vibe, whether it's positive, negative, or whatever that I get from the season. We have 9 seasons to rank, so let's get on to number 9.
I need to get my partner out of this bus and into this house and calmed down.
Final Reckoning, coming out with a score of 10. Final Reckoning is a season that I feel like it has very good characters. It has some good drama, definitely entertaining at points. Probably the worst format in challenge history, in my opinion. I don't really like the guy pairs versus girl pairs versus guy girl pairs. It just kind of makes the challenges and the eliminations weird. I kind of like the more standard elimination and challenges we get, which the only way you really get that is for having like guy girl pairs versus guy girl pairs, or guy pairs versus guy, and then girl girls versus girl girls. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. And I think the season was too long. The Redemption House format definitely made it stale, and I'm not a fan of Redemption Houses at all. And this was the worst Redemption House format for sure. So definitely the worst season of Era 4 in my opinion, only coming out with a score of 10. And at number
Spies, Lies, and Allies.
This is a season that I know most people probably were expecting for this to be at number 9, and it isn't very far off of number 9, so you can tell I don't really love the season either. Mid characters in terms of vets, mid format, but it did have some decent moments and didn't piss me off as much as Final Reckoning, so I'm gonna land it at number 8. And at number 7, we have a decent jump up, but I do look at this as like the sister season of SLA, and in my mind, when I think of the seasons, they definitely mesh together. And I actually did a very recent rewatch of both seasons, and coming out of it, I kind of felt more positively about SLA, so I am a little surprised about this being higher on the list, but at the same time, I understand. And that
Cam, I've been waiting all season for Cam. Get down here. I don't give a. I got my scouts.
And I think it had a much stronger cast. Not much stronger, but I think it just had a better cast in terms of entertainment. It played out better in terms of entertainment. Fine, but a kind of predictable outcome. But Amber's rookie performance was impressive, so it was surprising. I didn't expect that from her. It does kind of seem like the big moments are few and far between. So overall as a season, I think it was just good, like just mid. It was decent, but I do think it is a decent jump up from the other 2 on this list. And at number 6, I have a season that I feel pretty similarly about, but I do think it was just a little more consistent, and that is Ride or Dies with a score of 12.5 out of a possible 25. I think that this season is very consistent. I personally was invested in both Nelly and Nani's success. Devin definitely annoyed me on this season, but he played well, so I got to give him his credit. Horacio and Olivia were really strong rookie pair, and they have a lot of potential. I think Jay and Michelle had an interesting arc in the early part of this season. And Nelson totally screwed up what probably would have been an elite season if he rode more with the side of the game he should have rode with which was the Horacio, Olivia, Jay, and Michelle side of the game. I do think that it's a lot of potential for him and Fessy, Mariah, that group to dominate the season, and probably comes out with a little bit better, less predictable ending to the season. So, there is that. That probably is what players making dumb decisions that kind of made the season worse. At number 5, I have Total Madness coming out with a score of 13. I think that this is genuinely a season of two halves. The first half being strong with very strong storylines, strong points, a lot going on. You have Johnny and Wes patching up their relationship, traversing the game together. You have Bailey and Swaggy, their storyline, just to being a couple and both being relatively strong competitors. You have Josh beefing with the other Big Brother players. Obviously, you have Fessy coming out as a very strong rookie, facing off against Jordan. You have the TYB remnants still left with Nelson and Corey playing the way they're playing pretty well as a duo. Like, it's a lot going on, but the main storyline, you have Dee versus Jenny and Rogan, which personally is one of my favorite storylines in the challenge history, and I do think that had they been able to maintain this storyline and edit the show how it should have been edited, this would probably be a top 3 season, or if not top 2, maybe even my favorite season of the era. But the fact that we have the second half, which is genuinely boring, and it was edited terribly, though it has a strong cast, so it is some give or takes, but it's a lot of negativity, a lot of bad stuff about the second half of the season that I disliked. So I can't have it too high on the list, and that's why it comes out at number 5. And you see a steep difference, in my opinion, between this at number 5 and the season I have at number 4, which I would say Total Madness was a decent season. It was a watchable season, but I wouldn't call it good. Now we get to number 4, which this is going to be a hot take. A lot of people are definitely going to expect me to have this season higher on the list, but it's just my personal opinion. I have War of the Worlds 2 ranging out at a 15.5 out of a possible 25. I think it had great moments, great characters, some of the all-time best moments. A lot of the Paulie, Josh, CT arguments, Turbo, getting into it with Jordan, um, everything. It was a lot of blow-ups, a lot of arguments, a lot of good gameplay from certain players, and mainly Paulie, CT, Jordan, players like that. Kaylee and Cam both had very interesting and good gameplay moments during the season. We have a little bit of everything, great elimination moments, some moments where are backstabbed. It's a lot that went on this season, good dynamics, but for me, I just never personally was like, ooh, I gotta rewatch World of Worlds 2, or ooh, World of Worlds 2, such a great season. I just never really had that feeling. And just like Total Madness, I think it just has a weirdly dark vibe that I just never really liked. I don't know. Y'all let me know if y'all had that similar feeling, but I just never really liked the vibe of World of Worlds 2 or Total Madness. World of Worlds 2 obviously being the better season of the two and actually being a good season. I definitely won't say it's not a good season. Just has a weird vibe that I didn't like about it. You guys let me know how y'all feel about that. And at number 3, we have a season that I think maybe I have a little nostalgia for. It ain't that old, but it's just a season that I very much enjoyed when I watched the first time, and rewatching, still like it. I have Vendettas with a score of 17 out of 25. I think it has some all-time moments with Pizzagate, Leroy going at Tony and Cara, Nelson versus Darrell in elimination, Derek versus Joss in elimination, Bananas calling out, Devin calling out Bananas, Tony time, a couple of Killer Cam moments. Like, I think this is an all-time moments, like a bunch of all-time moments. I think that, Tony during the Eden Challenge, like, it's a lot of really notable good moments in this season, on top of having very strong rookies with Natalie, Cam, and Kyle. But the thing that knocks it off from being into the top 2 for me is how weirdly predictable it is. I don't know. I don't know, maybe I'm tripping, but this season is weirdly predictable. I think Johnny was clearly the best guy coming into the season, Johnny or Zach. Johnny doesn't get to the end, but Zach does. Zach ended up being the best guy on the season, ended up being the highest placing guy. I guess you could say the rookie performances from Kyle and Cam aren't as predictable, which cool. But as you get through the season, you start to realize how good they both are, and everything Cam does starts to become predictable because you know how good she is at that point. So, and then, oh, don't get me started on the terrible final
format. The lesson in this game is, if you're not first, you're last.
Yeah.
It's weirdly predictable. You get to the final, you get to the point where it's kind of Zach versus Kara in a memory challenge. And you're kind of like, okay, Kara got that. It kind of, it's just weird. But overall, I think it has a really good trajectory throughout the season. And I think it just had some good moments, great rookies. It's not really much I dislike about Vendettas, and I think it's extremely rewatchable. So, got to have it at number 3 with a score of 17 out of 25. And at number 2, I know this is going to be very surprising for some people, but I just think this was a really, really good season.
Say something about my mom. Say something about my mom. Say something about my mom. You a bitch.
I have Battle for a New Champion with a score of 17.75 out of a possible 25. The villains winning is really the only bad thing about the season for me. I think Jay was a mostly good villain. At points, he was kind of humble, knowing that he had to get rid of Kylan, had to get rid of Horacio because there was no way he could beat them.
How do you feel about going to the final?
Friend.
Nerese, Horacio, Zara, Raven, and Kylan were really good and rootable underdogs. And that's one thing I like about this season. It wasn't the best players all teaming up to go against the weak players. It was some of the best players teamed up, but the real best, like most skilled competitors, other than Ed, were completely out of the power structure. And they actually had to fight, which is what I think made this season so good. Because if it was the worst player that just got dominated, then we had to just watch the best players kind of just skate to the end. It would have been way more predictable than what we got, and would have been way more boring than what we got. We had good fights, we had good battles, we had something every episode. And honestly, the champions and the eliminations was probably the most boring part of the season. Because if we're going to be honest, we had a argument almost every episode. We had somebody pulling a snake move almost every episode. We had Jay honestly just burning his relationships every episode. Like, this was a very strong season on multiple fronts. So don't really see why people don't think it's a great season, but it was an arguably all-time great season. Definitely for me, I had personal connection to it. I loved it and I enjoyed it. So gotta have it here at number 2 on the list. And at number 1, I don't think this was ever really a question. This was at number 1 when I initially started the list, before I did any research, and this is number 1 right now. I think most people would look at this as the best season. I have War of the Worlds 1 with a score of 22 out of a possible 25. Now, maybe I was just trying to critique it a little bit, but I probably would even say it's a 25. The vibes are amazing. Elite season all around the board. Decent boot order. A couple people maybe could have lasted a little bit longer, but we had some people that we would have wanted to go home early. They went home early. I ain't even gonna go too far into that. But then, other than the one winner and the eliminations being mid, I do think this is an elite season and honestly perfect on every other front. Great fights, great arguments, great strategic gameplay. This was the season where Kara and Paulie running the game, it was better. You had someone like Wes that was also a part of it, Hunter that was a part of it. Theo was way more rootable on this season. Bear, though he's not a good person, he was a very funny character, and he was someone that you actually enjoyed watching at the time. I mean, that's just pretty clear. Most people enjoyed watching, even if they weren't rooting for him, even rooting against him. He was someone that was fun to root against. So, War of the Worlds 1 gets the number 1 spot for me. I think it was an elite season. I think it was arguably the best season challenge history. Yeah, there you guys go. That is it for today's video. You guys let me know what you guys think of the list and how you guys would rank these seasons. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. And stay tuned. Push the notification bell so you can be notified every time I drop a new lit banger. Peace.
So about that whole Big Brother sucks thing.